Introducing Fight Picks with the Pros, brought to you by FanDuel.
All right, hello and welcome to Fight Picks with the Pros. My name is Garrett Marchesano. Today I'm joined by UFC Ultimate Fighter champion Chris Holdsworth. Today we're going to go over a few picks for the upcoming UFC Fight Night card featuring Alistair Overeem versus Alexander Volkov. This is coming up this weekend at the UFC Apex Center in Las Vegas. Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, so the first fight we'll talk about is Diego Ferreira versus Beneil Dariush. Dariush is coming in as the plus 100 underdog. Diego is coming in as the minus 122 favorite. Now, Diego, just to give you a little background, he's fighting out of Fortis MMA, 17-2. He's won his last 6 fights, but this is over 5.5 years. And going back those 5 years, in 2015, his last loss was to Dustin Poirier. So really, really good fighter, well-rounded, 3 TKOs, 7 subs, great stamina. And then on the other side, you got from Kings MMA, you got Beneil Dariush, 19-4, 5 TKOs, which I was a little surprised about because I always see this guy hurting people, not getting knockdowns, dropping guys. And he's always entertaining to watch. He's also on a 5-fight win streak. So these guys are colliding, both coming off good win streaks. I really like this matchup. Really well done by Sean Shelby. I really put this together. So what do you think about Diego? What's your thought on this matchup, Chris?
Diego primarily is a jiu-jitsu guy, in my opinion. He's got some decent striking, but I know him as like a jiu-jitsu guy. So it's going to be interesting because Beneil Dariush is a jiu-jitsu guy at heart as well. I remember seeing Beneil in jiu-jitsu tournaments, and he was always either a belt below me or he was actively competing when I was competing. So when I saw him get to the UFC, I was like, damn, it's cool to see the jiu-jitsu blood, the guys who came up in jiu-jitsu get into the UFC and still be competing years later. So he's been doing great. As you said, his record 19-4, 5 win streak, and he's got a lot of finishes in his fights too, and he's fought some tough guys. On the other hand, Diego hasn't been as active as Dariush, but he's put a good win streak together as well. So it's always entertaining when you got guys that are both on a 4 or 5 win streak, and they got a lot of confidence, and those guys are hard to beat. So I think Dariush's stand-up has gotten a lot better now that he's really been working with Rafael Cordero and the guys at Kings MMA. So I think he's going to have that advantage, and if it goes to the ground, I think it'll be interesting once it goes to the ground. But I think Dariush has the advantage in the all-around MMA game.
Yeah, he's always fun to watch. He pulls out the spinning back fist, and I remember one fight he was getting pummeled by a guy, and he threw this random left uppercut that landed on the button, got him right back in the fight. He ended up winning, and he's just entertaining. Anytime I see him on a card or he comes up during a fight, I'm pinned in my seat. I'm ready to watch him go at it because he always puts on a show, especially as of late on this 5-fight win streak. He's stringing together some subs, some TKOs. Entertaining fights. He comes out there and he has this. Some people are just born with this God-given power in their hands, right? And when he really lets his power of hand go, he's dropping guys. So he's really honing in on that. So for me, I'll give my pick, and this is out of me just watching Dariush fight more, to be completely honest, and just being a fan of his stylistically. I'm going to go Beneil Dariush. I like him. I think it's, 3-round fight. I'm going to say by decision. I think it's going to be a lot of back and forth. I think we're going to see some grappling exchanges. It could go to the ground. I think it's going to stay standing most of the time. And I see Dariush getting the win via decision.
I think Diego is going to slow down later in the fight. I think Dariush will get a knee up the middle. Wobble him and TKO him with the hands.
Okay, so you call it TKO in the second?
Yeah, Beneil by a TKO in the third.
Oh, in the third? Okay, TKO in the third. Okay, you're going Beneil by TKO. I'm going by decision. All right, we'll jump on the next fight. We'll jump into Michael the Menace Johnson coming in as a minus 235 favorite against our guy, Clay the Carpenter Guida coming in as a plus 186. So with Clay Guida, he's getting a little older, veteran of the game. He can always scrap. Really similar on the other side. Michael the Menace Johnson, he's been around the game for a long time, 19-16, 8 TKOs. He's on a bit of a losing streak, 0 for his last 3. It's his, second 3-fight losing streak of his career. But he's the type of guy that I always see fighting the top guys, right? He's always fighting the big names. So it's hard to, put that record down. On the other side of it, we got Clay Guida, who's coming out of Team Alpha Male, who again is always entertaining, always ready to fight, always ready to scrap, always fun to watch. 35-20, 7 TKOs, 13 subs. So when I think about Clay, I think about his brawls and his overhand right, overhand left, uppercut. He just, he has these crazy highlight exchanges. The one they love to show is the one with, Diego Sanchez, where he's throwing left, right hook about 10 times in a row. But really to see 13 subs on his record, he's got a good ground game, former Strikeforce champion. So of course, I'm going to love to hear your feedback on Clay, but start with Michael. What do you think about Michael and what's going to be his game plan coming in against Clay?
Yeah, like you said, Johnson he's always fought, top caliber fighters. He fights the best guys in the world. He might not have the best record, coming from 19-16, but a lot of those losses are, to some of the top guys in the world. But he trains with the guys at Stanford MMA, which is a great camp. That's where like Gilbert Burns and Michael Chandler, and you got Henry Hoof there. There's a lot of studs. So when you train at a great camp and you have a great coach, you're going to come with a good game plan. I feel like he's going to try to keep Clay away with some straight punches down the middle, and look for some knees up the middle. When Clay tries to come in for a shot, I feel like that's probably his best path to victory. Even though Johnson can wrestle pretty good himself, you don't want Clay just getting in on you and being the guy he is on top with the ground and pound. And the thing I love about Clay, he stays a student to the game. A lot of these guys get to a certain level and they don't want to do the technique anymore. Or they just want to spar or whatever it is. Like Clay shows up to jiu-jitsu class. He focuses on getting better. Man, actually, Clay shows up to almost every class. He's a workhorse, and awesome. I love that about him. He's a great person in general. Really humble dude, and he fights his butt off in there. Every time he goes in, and I've actually seen like a different Clay this camp. Like he wants, maybe it's the loss beforehand or the couple losses he's got, but he took things really serious this time around, and I think he's putting in that extra work, and it's going to be a different Clay Guida.
I love it. I'm a big fan of Clay. Every time I see him on, I know it's going to be an entertaining fight. And of course, he's out of Team Alpha Male, where you're coaching, where my studio is at. So we got to rep for the hometown guy, right? And yeah, let's go, Clay. And I also think he's fighting for a job. In all honesty, both these guys, they're kind of on that chopping block a little bit, and a win would go a long way. I think whoever gets this win, gets another fight in the UFC and gets to keep going on. On the other side, not to say a long-time loyal fighter to the promotion, to the UFC, you could say that about both these guys. So it'd be hard to let one of these guys go. But the UFC roster right now is inflated. We heard in the beginning of the year, I think, what they say, 70 cuts they were going to make. When I was over at Fight Island, they were talking about more cuts they have to make to the roster. And for me to look at some guys who are on a 3-fight losing streak or are getting a little bit older, you have to weigh in those factors. But what negates all that? Getting a big win and entertaining the fans for the promotion, for the UFC. Exactly. It's all short-term memory. They'll forget your previous losses, or they'll forget how old you are if you put on a hell of a performance. So that brings me to my pick. I'm going with Clay, the Carpenter, Guida. I'm thinking, I'm feeling a decision. I'm going to say, Clay gets the victory, and, my heart's telling me decision. I can see it be the third round ground and pound, that he gets the ground and pound win and brings on that pace, and it wears on Michael over those 3 rounds. but I'm going to call Clay Guida by decision victory.
Yeah, I'm calling the same thing. I think we're going to see an old school Clay in there. A guy who's actually, setting up his takedowns and finishing his takedowns and getting on top and using his ground and pound and grappling skills to overwhelm Michael Johnson and to frustrate him. And then he's going to get sloppy and get taken down again. So I see Clay pulling this one out by decision as well.
Nice. Love it. All right, we'll move on. Another guy familiar to the Team Alpha Male Gym is Cody Stamann. Is it Stamann?
Stamann.
I hear a lot of people say Stamann.
Potato.
Yeah, Cody Stamann. He's coming in as a -400 favorite in this fight. He originally was going to fight Andre Ewell. So this fight got scrapped. Ewell tested positive for COVID. And so the stand-in now is Askar, who's a 2-1 fighter. This is going to be his first fight in the UFC. So don't have too much information on him. So we'll hone in on Cody on this one. He's 19-3, 6 TKOs, 2 subs. He had a really emotional win at UFC 250. His younger brother passed away, a few days before that fight, which was just a crazy story. He did lose his last fight versus Riviera, and great performance. He's coming right back into it. I like Cody. He's got that kind of Chad Mendes-esque feel to him. Real stocky, muscular guy, thick shoulders. Can throw the big shots, and so I'm definitely rooting for him in this fight. What's your opinion overall on Cody, and what do you think his approach is coming to this fight? And if you will, Chris, speak to me on, he was prepping for this guy for 8 weeks, this other guy, Andre, and, just a few days before the fight, he takes a replacement fighter just like that. So the whole game plan, doesn't know this guy. He only has 3 fights, hard to judge. What was his feeling and his camp's feeling when they decided to take the fight anyways? And what do you think about that type of situation?
Yeah, I think it comes down to, he's a real fighter. He trained for 8 weeks, and it doesn't matter who the opponent is, as long as, he's got one and he can, put on performance and get paid. That's what's most important. Nowadays, you have to be ready when you fight at the UFC level. You have to be ready for, last minute opponent changes, week out opponent changes. You never know. People get hurt a lot in this game, and now, especially with this whole, virus thing, it's like you never know, right? So your corner can test positive, you can test positive, and your fight will be scratched. But you got to have a game. You work a game plan with your coaches for a certain fighter, but at the end of the day, we're fighting in there. You have to adjust your game plan if things are not working. Cody, he's ready to fight, and he doesn't care who his opponent is. It's always let down, of course. You get changed up, but you just have to adjust and change your perspective and think about the next guy. And I think Askar, correct me if I'm wrong, is he out of the Jersey guys? Does he train with Frankie Edgar and those guys, or is he with a Russian team?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I just grabbed his
Askar. It sounds familiar, but if you're saying he hasn't fought in the UFC yet, maybe I don't know.
Yeah, they said this is his first fight in the UFC. So I'll hone in on Cody. I'm always rooting for him. I know Vince Murdoch is really close with him, and he's close with a lot of the guys. And Vince, I'm not sure if he's joining him for this fight. I know he cornered one of Cody's fight over there in Fight Island. Vince followed him on that journey. And so I'm going to be pulling for Cody. He's the huge favorite in this fight. So if I can make my official prediction, I think Cody's going to get the finish in this fight. I think it's going to take a little warming up, feeling out this guy's game. But I'm going to call a second round TKO for Cody.
Yeah. I'm pulling for Cody too. I think it'll be a decision.
Okay, you're going Cody by decision.
Yeah, if it's the Askar that I'm thinking about, he's pretty tough. But Cody's tough too.
That's right. All right, we'll jump on the next fight. This one's an interesting one. We got Corey Sandhagen coming in as a -450 favorite versus Frankie the Answer Edgar coming in as a +330 underdog. So first, I got to say, They are really pushing, heavy favorite to Corey Sandhagen. Maybe there's something I don't know, if there's an injury or something. I see this as a pretty damn even fight with Frankie and Corey. I think it's going to be a back and forth. I think it's anyone's fight to take. Corey is definitely riding a high with that spinning wheel kick KO. He's looking good, but you got to remember he took a loss to Aljamain Sterling just previous to that. I know for Frankie, he's coming off a few losses, but he's still a dangerous guy. Frankie lost 3 out of 5, but the losses were to the Korean Zombie, were to Brian Ortega and Max Holloway. Those are 3 of the top guys in the world. I wouldn't put Sandhagen on those guys' level just quite yet. He does have a win over Cub Swanson during this run. He's 24-8. I'm a big Frankie Edgar fan. I've been following him for a long time, but Corey's definitely pulling some views and bringing in a lot of fans as well in his own right. So first, let's dive into Corey first. I'd love to get your opinion. He was on a 7-fight win streak before he ran into Sterling. Then he got this crazy spinning heel kick KO. He's on a high. He's 13-2. How do you break down Corey's game?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of both of these guys. I've trained with both of them before. I trained with Sandhagen actually before he was in the UFC. He came down when, Dwayne Ludwig was our coach, and he came down with a couple of his guys, and he was a stud back then. So, just seeing him progress over these past 8 years or whatever it's been kind of awesome to see, the progression and what he's done, as of late. But then we got Frankie Edgar, who's a legend in the game, and and actually you didn't bring this up, but he just actually beat Pedro Munoz in a great fight. And Pedro Munoz is no slouch in his own right. So I thought Frankie looked amazing his last fight, and he just continues to impress me, as he's getting older, and he's got a lot of miles. I think he's got like some of the the longest fight time in the UFC as far as like ring time. I could be wrong, but I think he's up there. And it's going to be interesting. I don't think Sandhagen wants to go to the ground. If Frankie gets Sandhagen to the ground, I think his wrestling can kind of keep him down. But Sandhagen has got some good attacks off his back, and he's very hard to hold down. And it's going to be. I'm really looking forward to this fight. Man, it's hard. It's hard for me to pull. I want, my heart wants Frankie in this one. Even though I'm a Sandhagen fan, and I want to see him do well. I've been a Frankie fan for a little bit longer.
Okay, so you're going Frankie Edgar. For me, I'm going to call this my FanDuel fight pick of the week. I'm going Frankie Edgar. I like these odds, plus 333. It's weighing on me.
Yeah, I would put some money on Frankie.
Yes, the odds are pulling for it. So I'm going to say my FanDuel fight pick of the week is going for Frankie to answer Edgar, plus 333. I like the odds. I think it's a good bet. A lot of people are pulling for Sandhagen. I think that's where all the money's going. Obviously, he's a heavy favorite going into this fight. I think a lot of people are underestimating Frankie. He wants to make a statement here. He's 39 years old. He doesn't want to leave the game without being on top. This is his one last run at the title. In his mind, he thinks a spectacular win over Corey Sandhagen gets him that title shot. So I'm going Frankie Edgar via 3rd round TKO. And that's my FanDuel fight pick of the week.
Nice.
Okay, so you're going Frankie. How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, I think Frankie's gonna win this one by decision. This is a 3-round fight.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna be able to just push the pace and kind of dance around and not get hit with anything big, and then also mix in his takedowns like he's so good at doing, and get on top a few times and squeak out victory.
All right, that's it. We're both going Frankie, the biggest underdog on the card. We're taking. I like it.
I might have to throw some cashola on that one.
That's a good fight.
It's time for the main fight pick of the evening.
All right, in the main event, we got Alistair, the Demolition Man, Overeem, coming in as a plus 144 underdog versus Alexander Drago Volkov coming in as a -178 favorite. So we'll start with Alistair on this. 47-18 with 25 TKOs, 17 subs. He's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. And really that Rosenstrike fight where he got KO'd with 6 seconds left, he was dominating that fight. And for everyone listening, that was the one where he got rocked and his lip got split in half, a 2-inch gash on the right side of his lip.
That was
one of the most gnarliest injuries I've seen in MMA. So he wants to make his one last push for the heavyweight title, rightfully so. He's on a great run. He's coming in as an underdog. So first, what do you think about Alistair, the Demolition Man, Overeem, Chris?
I've been watching Alistair since the Pride days. Like I was a big fan of just back then. He was just like a tall beanpole, kind of lean. He reminded me of myself, and he had like really good striking, but he was submitting guys as well. And he's just like super aggressive. And I was like, man, this Alistair Overeem guy is pretty good. And he won something. And then I saw he was in K1, and all of a sudden he like put on 50, 60 pounds and just was like eating horse meat. And I don't know what happened, but he turned into a different human being, and brought that aspect of that, that just the the entertainment aspect to the sport, and came back to the UFC. And I think he's won K1, he's won the Pride belt. Was he UFC champ? Am I? No,
I don't think he ever grabbed the UFC.
Yeah. I don't think he did. I think that's why he's so hungry to get that belt. Because if he does, that would mean he got the Pride belt, the K1 belt, and the UFC belt. And he's a Strikeforce champ, right? I'm pretty sure he's a
former Strikeforce.
Yeah.
And
so he's got
he did beat Brock Lesnar. That might have not been for the belt. Probably should look that up. That's
yeah. Yeah, I can't remember, man. There's been so many fights and so many belts. But yeah, he's 4-1, like you said, and he always looks good. And from what I've heard from some people, that Alistair is a student of the game, and he likes to learn, and he keeps an open mind. So I'm a fan of those type of guys who just they ask questions, but they also just do what you say, and are willing to learn and try to get better.
Yeah, it looks like Alistair, you had a chance at the crack at the belt versus Stipe, lost that fight. And like you said, with the big hype, that was Brock Lesnar when Alistair was just a freaking specimen of a human being.
Yeah.
That was the huge spectacle that got put on. That got a huge, pre-USADA days. And it was an absolute beast. So that was wild. I'm rooting for Alistair. I like him in this fight. I like the storyline of him being this, long time MMA, staple. Everyone who's the hardcore MMA fans.
Great story.
Coming up. But it's a great story. On the other side, you got Alexander Volkov, 32-8, 21 TKOs. He just put a beating on Walt Harris. He had some crazy body shots in that fight. He has 3 subs to his record. He's 2-2 in his last 4 fights. He took a pretty nasty loss to Derek Lewis. He thinks that Overeem is going to make a mistake, and he's going to catch him and drop him, knock him out, TKO him. And he's got crazy length on his striking, long dude. Of course, these are big guys in the heavyweight division. And so it's going to be interesting. It shows me that, 21 TKOs on the other side, Alistair Overeem, he's always ready to stand and bang it out. So this is going to be a standing, striking heavyweight match. So ultimately, what are your thoughts on Alexander a little bit on his side? And what do you think the game plan is going to be coming in against Overeem?
Yeah, maybe using his length, trying to get those, trying to make Overeem tired in later rounds. Being a little bit older, and who knows what Overeem is coming to the fight. I've seen a couple different Overeem show up, but he looked good his last fight, and I don't think he can really do anything to Overeem that Alistair hasn't seen. Like, he's fought some of the best kickboxers in the world, and he's fought some of the best MMA fighters in the world. So I got Alistair. I I think Alistair is going to end up finishing Volkov. He's going to rock him and then maybe like guillotine him or something like that.
Okay. So your official main event pick, you're going with Alistair Overeem.
Going with Alistair Overeem by guillotine choke.
Okay, got it. Okay, so for me, for my main event pick, I'm also pulling for Alistair Overeem. How do I see the fight playing out? I think it's going to be a big feel-out process in the beginning. Both long, lanky guys kind of get down that range. I can envision a lot of feints going on, but as soon as they start engaging, it only takes one punch for lights out. And so I'm thinking Overeem's going to catch him early in the third round, and I'm calling. I saw Alexander, get dropped a few times, so I know he's capable of getting hit and getting dropped. And I'm thinking, I'm thinking Overeem's going to get that finish via third round TKO. That's my fight pick.
Nice. That's a good one. All
right. That's the main event. So thanks, guys, for watching Fight Picks with the Pros. We'll see you next time.